Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for hopping on. We'll give everyone another minute or a little less than a minute to hop on and settle in. Wonderful. Okay, I see our numbers starting to slow down, so we can jump right in. So hi, everyone. My name is Jordan. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining Experian today for our data quality management webinar. So as we get started here, a few things that I just wanted to cover off. So first and foremost, we're so happy that you're here. This webinar is being recorded, so if you're just hopping on, know that we'll be sending it out in the next few days. And also, if you're just listening in today, whether you're on a walk, multitasking, or in the car today, we'll be sending out the slides and the recording in the next few days. That said, if you are on your computer and you have any questions, please use the Q&A function to submit those questions. We'll cover them at the end. And always feel free to reach out to us and we can set up a meeting if there's anything else you want to uncover. Let's get started. Awesome. So every year we release a research report that looks at how businesses across industries are managing their data and their thoughts and perspectives on the importance of data quality. Year over year, we find that data quality becomes increasingly important, and this year is no different, right? So we actually focused on what market pressures organizations are seeing today and how data quality is helping their response. So in the next hour or so, we'll hear from our awesome panel of presenters that you see here, and we'll be talking about what the research told us. Emily, Ray, and I will get into the weeds of the study. Then we'll hear from Nick showing a short demo of our data quality report card in Aperture Data Studio, which is our data quality platform. And at the very end, we will do a Q&A with Emily, Nick, and Ray. Great, so on to intros. As I said, my name's Jordan Tetler. I'm the product marketing manager here at Experian Data Quality. I've been with the business for over 6 years now, and I am based in the greater Boston area. So I'll pass it to Nick. Technical difficulties, maybe? Ray, I'll pass it to you, then we'll get to Nick.
Okie doke. Hi, so my name is Ray Wright. I'm the product and marketing subject matter expert at EDQ. I've been here for almost 8 years, and I'm also based in the Boston area.
Nick, it looks like you're back on.
I am, sorry, I got kicked off my network for a second. Hey everyone, I'm Nick. I am our technical lead within North America Product. So I have the privilege of going through a quick demo today. And feel free to reach out afterwards if you have any questions around the technology, if you have any desire for a more in-depth demo in the future.
Great, thanks Nick. Hi everyone, my name is Emily Cleland. I am a senior product manager with Experian. Been with the company for over 7 years now, and I'm also based in the Boston area. So with that, I think we can get into the basis of our presentation to cover the research methodology. So this year, we had a great pool of responses, and we surveyed over 500 business leaders across the US. These leaders held roles from management to the executive suite and sat in departments mostly focused on IT and data administration, data and analytics, operations, sales, and finance roles. Verticals that we surveyed included mostly tech, finance, manufacturing, and retail. So now that we've set the stage, we can move into our first section here. We had a great pool of responses, and we're really excited to take a deeper look with all of you around what business leaders had to say about data quality initiatives and how market pressures may be affecting them currently or in future. Moving into some of the market pressures today that we're seeing. So those include rapid tech advancements. Think about trends like AI or machine learning and how we're hearing that constantly in our day-to-day. Increasing operational costs. For example, think about the rising cost of a customer acquisition, rising skill shortages, changing customer expectations, and supply chain issues. The business leaders involved in our research said that these market pressures are driving internal business priorities like better decision-making, business growth, sustainability. Think about how many businesses today are focused on going green, increasing agility, and a digital experience. Now, I think we can all agree these trends don't signify anything tremendously groundbreaking, right? From a business and consumer perspective, we're constantly hearing about what trends like Gen AI, how we're going to adopt them as a society based on how fast-paced the world is today. Like social media and technology, news today is spreading faster than ever. And with that, new trends are picking up faster than ever. And this leaves businesses needing to respond as quickly as possible to keep up or get left behind. I think what's even more important to focus on here is why it's so critical to be able to react quickly to changing market conditions. Those that can react quickly can be the first to take advantage of new opportunities and stay ahead of competitive moves. And reacting quickly is not just about rapid decision making. It's really about the ability and the culture of an entire organization to respond and having those agile people and processes in place to do this. For example, think back to 2019. Amazon had been offering 2-day free shipping for a while, and as we all know, had the streamlined logistics in place to support this model. Walmart, on the other hand, did not have a free shipping option at the time. It hadn't been necessary for their target demographic who preferred in-store shopping. Then the pandemic hit and stores were closed. Walmart's response included using their staff to make home deliveries using their own vehicles at times. Think about the work Walmart's management, analytics, and HR teams must have done to make that happen quickly and effectively. Already being a data-driven organization must have made a huge difference because, as I said, they already had that baseline culture and business operations in place to support this change. And while these responses to our research back up overall what we've been seeing across the market today, the key trend I really want to focus on here is that businesses are now investing in data quality for a better market response and to meet these increasingly more important business priorities. So with that, it's really worth calling out that 88% of business leaders believe that market disruptors and challenges are set to intensify over the next year. So think about really what this means for your business. Do you agree with this stat, and are you prepared to put in place a strategy that helps to improve and sustain your market responses? This is something to really consider as you review business strategies and head into a new calendar year. And 87% say that high-quality, trusted data plays a critical role in responding to these challenges. Think about what your company has in place today to monitor and clean your data. Do you have an optimal operation going that's well adopted, or do you not really have anything standard in place right now? Are you automating your data quality or not really doing anything on the automation side quite yet? And how may these overall processes be impacting your market responses? In fact, I want to reference HomePoint, who is one of our customers. They came to us with the goal of doing just this, automating their data quality and processes and risk controls so that their organizational data could be more accessible across the business. By implementing data quality solutions that help to automate and operationalize their business processes, they were able to save their employees a lot of time, about 50 hours per month, in fact, and instill a data culture that allowed them to react quickly and effectively. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jordan, and she's going to talk a little bit more over to you.
Thanks, Emily. I just want to echo your points around the market pressure is intensifying over the next year and how companies are really investing in their data to respond to that. A webinar like this is a great time to reflect on how your company is viewing these challenges, right? And what they're doing to solve for them, especially compared to your peers. So now we can cover off what the research said about those actual investment areas for a better response. We like to break down the foundation of data quality into 3 key parts: people, process, and technology. Usually, efforts to run a typical data management and governance program can be categorized into these 3 areas. And if you've been on a webinar with us before, you know that this is a key strategy that we always come back to. It makes data quality that much more consumable and attainable. So what did the research tell us? 40% of leaders are hiring for and developing business users' data skills. We also see another 40% of leaders hiring and developing data professionals. So remember how one of the top market pressures organizations are facing is the rising of those skill shortages. This is something we've seen year over year as the demand for data and analytical skills continue to rise. And I think about this in your organization, right? If you're seeing a rise of skill shortages as you're implementing these new technologies and taking a data-driven approach. So also think of it this way: driven by all of the market factors we mentioned above and others like climate change and changing demographics, the best customers you have today may not be your best customers tomorrow. To be successful, businesses must create new processes that gather data on their customers and monitor it continuously for trends and changes, as well as to see what the latest customer preferences are. Consider, for example, that wealth is migrating to younger generations who will have way different needs than their forebears. Are you already tracking your future customers and planning on how to address their needs? Just something to think about. And it goes without saying that the best way to maintain accurate data on an ongoing basis is to implement technology to automate your data quality processes. And this helps avoid having to employ any human resources on mundane data checking tasks that a technology could do. So in the last slide, we saw that 40% of leaders are investing in the automation of data quality rules and processes. What our study also shows is that 75% say they are wasting a lot of time manually checking for data issues. When this is the case, manual validation means risk of human error and a significant decrease in market response. We actually ran a study a few years ago that showed us that 50% of data errors were a result of human error. And given this, we wanted to give you a look at what types of data quality tools are being used or being planned to use this year. So the top 3 we see are data quality services, integrating automation of data quality rules and processing, and lastly, integrating data quality into CRM, ERPs, CDPs, or other platforms like that. Automating the cleaning of data is top of mind for organizations. It gets the job done while business users and data professionals alike can be focused on other high-value tasks. And those high-value tasks most likely are responding to these different pressures we're all seeing coming from the market. One last thing I want to call out here is data governance. Over a third of leaders are investing in the implementation of data governance. And this has been a huge focus even for our business. And here with our study, we see that organizations are using or planning to use a unified data management platform that typically includes cataloging and governance features. The other day, we were actually talking about this and the relationship between governance and Gen AI, right? The hot topic that we're all researching and implementing into our organizations today. And on the call, we learned that to have Gen AI, you must have quality and governance. And I know with our internal functions, especially marketing, we're seeing that this is very true. So to talk about this, I actually wanted to pull in Ray to expand more on the intelligence he's come across to better understand what's actually happening here in terms of governance, observability, and quality.
Thanks, Jordan. Yes, so before we talk about Gen AI, let's discuss data quality and governance first. What we've seen in our research and over the past couple of years is the growing realization that data as a tremendously resource be important and potentially vital needs to be continuously managed. Not only does data passes, often errors or omissions get injected as data moves from one process to another, from department to department, or system to system. The traditional approach to managing data, and so it was thought, data quality, was to implement a data governance program. But knowing what data you have and who's responsible for maintaining its security and integrity really isn't the same as being able to identify and fix problems. Doing that can be incredibly resource intensive. And most data stewards and data engineers have day jobs too. Their data stewarding role often takes a seat to the daily demands of the business. So for this reason, many businesses have actually shied away from implementing data governance programs. It's just too resource intensive. But the tide is turning as the value and importance of data in an increasingly digital world is clearly expanding exponentially. Of course, it would be great if the simple answer was just let's automate everything. Can you automate the identification of potential issues, remediate as many as possible automatically, and then prioritize the rest so that those busy data stewards and engineers can optimize their time? And can you observe the data as it goes through its various paths across the organization to ensure its integrity is maintained? Well, nowadays, we get pretty close to that. Nowadays, we think we can. Data governance vendors are including data quality and observability capabilities with their offerings, making data governance programs much more tenable. Now, when it comes to the use of Gen AI, maintaining data quality becomes even more important. I mean, if you're one of the 100 million people who have literally signed up to use a Gen AI driven product in just the past 3 months, you'll know what tremendous productivity they're going to deliver. But did you know that roughly 10% of the answers currently given by public Gen AI tools are wrong? That's partly because they're trained on publicly available internet data. And of course, there's no data quality capability for the internet. And we know we can certainly find plenty of duplicate and contradictory data. But now imagine that you implement a Gen AI program internally to your business and use your customer data as the input. For example, to drive, say, personalized responses to customer service questions without having to involve a member of your support staff. If the data has errors, all kinds of issues can occur. You might expose the PII of another customer. You might exacerbate the customer's problem by giving the wrong information. You might incorrectly suspect fraud and action upon that. And you certainly risk impacting your reputation and delivering a poor customer experience. If, like many digital businesses, you do plan to develop a Gen AI driven capabilities that use your own data, putting a data governance and data quality program in place first is definitely a critical success factor. Think about it. Without it, how will it be possible to test the accuracy of the answers of the outputs if you don't know what the quality of the inputs are? So let's talk about data observability now. On the last slide, I touched on data observability, meaning the ability to understand the health of data across systems to ensure its integrity at each stage. As you can see on this slide, observability is now considered important to the majority of our research respondents. Indeed, judging by the growth of new players in this space, we can expect the data observability market to have robust growth over the next several years. In essence, data observability has a similar purpose to quality assurance, or QA, in software. Before agile methods were introduced, software was developed in a serial fashion. Code was written to produce an entire solution, then test code was written to test the solution. Then the tests were performed, and if errors were found, the cycle had to be repeated. Consequently, development cycles were quite long and unpredictable. But with agile methodologies and DevOps, coding and testing occur simultaneously at each step along the way, ensuring that as each software module is completed, there's a pretty good likelihood it will be integrate and perform as expected, reducing testing complexity and making product availability much more predictable, as well as speeding time to value. Plus, when you think about it, it's much easier to test modules as development proceeds than to wait to test a completed sort of relatively complex product at the end of the day. So observability seeks to do the same thing for data, ensuring that it will remain fit for use as it gets assembled from different sources and pulled into algorithms and analytical engines to produce insights and predictions. Checking the data at various stages along the way and correcting issues in earlier steps not only helps avoid incorrect results, but reduces the effort otherwise required to debug complex processes when unreliable data is used. Observability is key, but like data governance, it's only one component in the data quality equation. Being able to quickly find fixes and to automate data quality processes are also required to ensure trust in both the data and the decision-making outcomes. Now I'll hand it back to Jordan to take the next step.
Thanks, Ray. You really do such a great job defining these keywords that we're hearing in our world and across the market. And so thank you so much for taking a deep dive on those and really uncovering how AI, governance, quality, observability, and how all of those really intersect. What really stood out to me is what you just said, how observability will ensure that data continues to be fit for use by the organization. Now, this is something that here at Experian, we hold dear to our hearts. We're always saying that we're trying and working with our clients to make data fit for purpose. You know, every business has commonalities, but also unique circumstances. And what we're here to tell you is that it's about having the right information. And when you do, you can reap those benefits. So that's actually a nice segue into our next slide, talking about the benefits of trusted data. So far, we've talked about the market pressures that businesses are facing, their top priorities to better combat or drive these challenges and advancements, and why and how they are investing in their data and in their insights. They're doing this for a reason, right? You are doing this for a reason. Over a third of businesses believe that trusted data helps a better response to market changes and disruptions. And the same pool of people believe that it helps them improve competitiveness and differentiation. These are extremely important pieces to that overarching story when we talk about responding to the market and staying in lockstep with our customers and staying ahead of our competition. And we see even more benefit when it comes to trusted data supporting business agility, you know, the way of being flexible and being able to respond quickly and efficiently and effectively, and improving that overall customer experience. All of these are what are top priorities for businesses that we talked about earlier. Wonderful. So in this section, we'll cover what happens when you have bad data. So looking at the opposite side here, the top data, or the type of data we see being used by your peers today, and what we mean when we say it's important to know about your data. So again, remember those business priorities we talked through. Respondents in the study said that they are focused on improving agility, digital customer experience, and decision-making. Well, our study also shows that bad data impacts all of these key areas. Never mind that we see benefits of trusted data include better response time, agility. The opposite is also true. 83% say operational efficiency is critical across the organization this year. And on the flip side, 75% say poor quality customer contact data impacts their operational efficiency. So I wanted to give you a quick real life example on this. For all the retailers, D2C companies, e-commerce companies on this call, you understand that the holiday season is here, and it's been here. And promoting seasonal deals and delivering packages just gets earlier and earlier. We recently had one company who is certainly a mature data organization, but they were looking for a new product and service that was particularly scalable. The market was changing, they continued to grow, so they really needed the right technology to help them exceed their goals and keep up with the market. Ultimately, they decided to bundle and integrate Aperture Data Studio, our data quality platform that you'll see shortly, and our address validation API. So why did they do this? One, they needed to have quality data to operate efficiently when it came to delivery optimization for orders, and to find operational efficiency across the entire business and other functions. Secondly, they needed to save time by automatically cleaning their data in-house versus sending their data to us for a batch cleanse and waiting for that to come back to them. They wanted to handle it all within their four walls. And as a result, and Emily mentioned this earlier, now this company can stay in lockstep with their customers, no matter who their customers are today, tomorrow, or in the future. They always know what their preferences are and how to reach them. And this is all because they created an efficient data process internally. So this brings us to our next point, the types of data being used in businesses today. Our study finds that email, phone, address, identity data, which we will consider name and date of birth here, social media, and IP addresses are all primary forms of data that organizations are using or planning to use today. What I find most fascinating here is a total of 99% of respondents are using email data today or have plans to use it more going forward. 99% of over 500 respondents. And a total of 93% say that they have plans to use phone data today or in the future. What I'm trying to get across here is that contact data may seem really simple. We all have a phone number, an email address, a mailing address, but all of that information is truly invaluable. And it's important to have that information right. But the thing is that it's so easy to get wrong. Just misspelling your name or forgetting the O and .com in your email, I know I do that a lot, could mean that you don't get notified properly. You don't get that email confirmation that says the payment has been made, the order is placed. Or if you misspell the address and have to go correct it afterward, those address correction fees are astronomical, and you certainly don't want those building up during the holiday season. But not only that, your customer experience could take a hit. Say you personalize the wrong name or do a misspelled version of the name. For instance, if I get an email that is spelled Jordan with an A-N and my name is spelled Jordan Y-N, oftentimes I think it's spam because I'm certainly not inputting my name wrong most of the time. So this is what we really want to focus on, right? Your data could be invalid and you don't even know it. And with all of these added market pressures and advancements that we're seeing, it's really not the time to have bad data. So with that, I want to pass it to Emily now to dive more into what it means to know your data.
Great, thanks, Jordan. Yeah, so just to echo what you said, it is extremely important to know your data, as this perfectly titled slide implies. In fact, in our past research, we found that 50% of data issues are due to human error, which I think we can all agree, that makes a lot of sense. It's easy to make spelling mistakes, formatting issues, and so on, and that is just on a small scale. Now think about your entire business and the data that's being used and manipulated on a regular basis. There could be duplicate records of one customer across various parts of your business. There could be different departments or business units collecting, formatting, and managing data in similar or even different ways. Based on the amount of data your business uses and the amount of departments it's used by, you could be creating operational inefficiencies, like reaching out to customers more often than necessary, duplicating marketing efforts, which, as we all know, costs increased budget, and so on. So the point here is that you need to know your data. A good first step here is analyzing and profiling your data at a high level or summary scale. When you do this, you can get insight into the quality of your data set, identify existing errors, discover duplicates, and most importantly, come up with a remediation plan. Our data quality report card that Nick's going to show you in just a second can give you exactly this. It helps to analyze your data set to check for data inaccuracies, irregularities, and inconsistencies. It then clearly shows areas of strength in your data and areas that may have some opportunity for improvement. And so that way, you know where to start with actionable insights. The point here is that we often find there are so many avenues when it comes to focusing on data quality strategies, and this can make simply kicking off a strategy extremely overwhelming. With something like a report card, there are out-of-the-box capabilities that can profile your data in a quick and easy way and really give you a clear path forward without a large technical uplift. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Nick, who's going to really show you the cool stuff, what this process looks like. So without further ado, I'll pass it to you, Nick.
Awesome, thanks, Emily. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And am I sharing the correct screen? No. There we go. Is that now correct? Are you able to see the data quality report card?
Looks great.
Perfect. All right, exactly as Emily was saying, the data quality report card, it can be a little hard to understand exactly where to get started. So we talked about the variety of different problems that can occur. So what we like to start is with this data quality report card. It's kind of like a blood test where we go ahead and we take a sample and we run as many different things as we can. That'll tell us kind of where to start looking, where there could be problems, where things look completely normal and we don't really want to spend the effort. So we like to do this, and we take a sample of the original data set and we run a bunch of different things in here. So for both good and bad, I can't actually fit all of the different tests that we're running in my screen at once, but we go ahead and we go through address validation, email validation, phone validation, we go through find duplicate, we do email append, we do phone append, and at the end we do some kind of just DBA, some frequently reoccurring entries. And this will give us a high level overview of the quality of the data that we have here. So I will call out, this is a real production data set. It is a combination of a couple different clients that we've run this for. It is anonymized, it is non-personalized, it's aggregated. You won't be able to tell who this is from. However, do know that this is a live production database that wasn't filtered. It's not manipulated to look good in a demo. It's honestly what we found in production systems. So in this case, we ran a May 2023 file. It was a little bit over 1 million records. Some of these will be samples, so you'll see that the counts we have is much less than 1 million, but that's what we ran it off of. So as Emily was saying, the first place we always start is with this profiling. We get this high 30,000 foot view where we can understand what's happening in this file, where we have maybe null IDs, or maybe we're missing different elements. So in here, we see that we've got good coverage on first name, last name. We've got good coverage on phone number, but we have 7 different formats of phone number. Maybe that's acceptable. Maybe we have some international numbers in here, but we normally would want to see one single formatted phone number. If you want these to be dialable, if you want them to be reachable, they need to be valid phone numbers. And so we can immediately look into not only is the phone number present, but is it actually valuable, right? We can do the same thing with a couple other areas. Postal codes, we shouldn't have too many formats. And then are we expecting to have more address line 2s, right? So of our 100% coverage for address line 2, we only have city, state, and zip for 50% of them. Probably not very deliverable address if we don't know the city, state, and zip. So we can immediately start to focus on different elements, different areas of concern, but we want to dig a little bit deeper. So after we've done our high-level profiling, we can go ahead and run our find duplicates. So in this case, we had name, address, phone, and social security number. In this data set of a little over 1 million records, we found that a single cluster, one duplicate group, ended up being 209 records. A single individual showed up 209 times. I believe in this case it was testing. Their QA team was using the test at test address 209 times in their production database. It wasn't being cleaned up properly, and a conversation had to be had about why this was showing up in a production database and kind of what the consequences of that could be. What we would kind of see a little bit more commonly is in this case, we had 110,000 clusters of size greater than 2. So this means that there were 3 or more individuals that all were duplicates. So if you had 3 cases of Emily Cleland in your database, then you would show up in here. And then we do a little bit of householding. If you're looking to send out mailers and you want to group everyone into that single household, then we can group that in here. And of this 1 million record file, we see that we have a little over 500,000 of unique households. So we have quite a few duplicate individuals sharing a household in here. The overall match being that we had 250,000 exact duplicates. You had Nick Brewer with the exact same social security number, the exact same address in here that we can clean up in a very automated and a regular way. We can set up ongoing rules so that these are corrected and don't make it to your outreach team, to your mailing campaigns, to whatever the end destination would be. And then we had almost 750,000 that were over 750,000 that were non-duplicates. This is exactly what we want our entire database to look like, right? Individuals that don't have duplicates in that database. And then as I was mentioning, we did householding in here. We found a very large number of multi-match households, so multiple individuals, all part of the same household in this data set. Again, maybe that's expected in your line of work. It also might be concerning if you're really looking to only reach out to, let's say, the head of the household for your mailing campaigns. Another interesting one here. So we ran this for this client, and remember it's a little over 1 million records, but there were 2 different addresses in here. So we went ahead and validated relatively short of 2 million addresses. And of those, a little under 50,000 were undeliverable. If you send a package, it's not going to end up there. It might end up in the lobby level of an apartment, but more likely than not, it's not going to end up at your recipient door. So in this case, to me, that's really not that bad of a number, but in this case, they were sending invoices to clients via mail. And so missing out on 45,000 invoices is not an acceptable statistic. So again, we can help provide, we can do the validation, but your business knowledge is ultimately going to drive where that effort is made. So I'll breeze through this a little bit quick because it starts getting repetitive. We did the same thing for email. We take a 10,000 record sample, we figure out which ones are valid, which ones are invalid, which ones have some technical restrictions where we can't confirm or deny. And in this case, the data set was pretty good. about a 2% undeliverable rate. But if we did remove those, then we're less likely to get blacklisted when doing an email campaign. We can separate out if it's a consumer versus a business domain. And then I always think that this one is really interesting. It shows kind of the depth that we're able to look. We only did a 1,000 record sample for the phone, but in here we see that most of them are good. We see that there's almost 90% coverage for mobile. This individual was primed for an SMS campaign if they wanted to start doing that. If they wanted to get away from mailers, they wanted to get away from emails, they could start doing SMS because they had huge coverage for their mobile. That being said, we can also call out, not statistically relevant, but the depth that we were able to dive into this. We identified that there was a pager in 2023 in this live production database. Someone had a pager in their database, which I always think is a little interesting. Not a huge statistical problem, but interesting. And then in here for phone append, so let's say you're wanting to get into the SMS campaign, then we can go ahead and add additional phones to your data set. So if you find that you're low on mobiles, then we can help assist by taking name and address and appending additional mobile phones in here. So I'll breeze through this a little bit, but the final thing that I'll call out is some frequent reoccurring elements. So in this case, like I said, we had in this case, the QA team was doing tests in the live production database. And this is a relatively easy thing for any DBA to go ahead and do and select the top reoccurring elements. But this is something that we can do in a highly automated way, and we can provide this out in a executive report and have this kind of reoccurring data observability in an automated fashion. So final thing that I'll call out is that all of this was built in our Aperture Data Studio product. We put it into a nice data quality report card, we put it into a PDF, we can scroll through it and show it off, but it's all being built in this solution that we do sell. So our Aperture Data Studio platform in here, I'm not going to dig through too much of it because it is a pretty dense product, but I do want to show a little bit some of the data observability, some of the dashboards that we can build in here. So kind of a silly data set to look at, but I think it's kind of interesting, is we can go ahead and look at Shaq's statistics over his career. So in here, we can immediately make a call out for the number of points that Shaq makes per game, and then we can look at some of his career-long statistics, the number of baskets that he made, the number of free throws that he made, and then immediately we notice something kind of bizarre. There's only one three-pointer. Shaq is an excellent basketball player. Why is there only one three-pointer? This must be wrong, right? So we want to go ahead and we want to dig into the data. This is the underlying data set of Shaq's 1,207 games. I also had to look that up. I'm not a big basketball fan, but Shaq did actually play 1,200 games over his career. So in here, if we want to look at our three-pointer, we can immediately dig in and we say, we want to remove any case where there were no three-pointers made in a game. In a couple clicks, we can immediately find not only did Shaq only make one three-pointer in his career, but he made that one three-pointer in the the 24th game of the 4th season. And that's interesting, but if Shaq only attempted one three-pointer and he made that three-pointer, then that's pretty good, right? So we want to see what is his kind of rate, how many attempts did he make? We'll do the exact same operation, but we'll do it on his three-point attempts. And in here, we'll see that, okay, out of his 22 attempts at three-pointers, he only made one. It's not a great statistic for such an excellent basketball player. So we dig in, we look a little bit more. We can also just kind of visually notice a trend in here that of Shaq's first 9 seasons, he attempted almost 20 three-pointers. In his last 8 seasons, he only attempted 3. Shaq adapted, understanding his own limitations. The three-pointers really weren't what made him a good player, and he stopped making them. He really only made a couple. So just kind of some interesting things that we can immediately dig into. Obviously, Shaq's statistics is not going to have a significant impact on your business bottom line, but interesting to show kind of some of the data observability we can do in here, some of the dashboards we can do, despite this ultimately being a data quality platform, as opposed to necessarily a dashboarding tool like Power BI or something. Last thing that I'll call out, I'm not going to click into it, but in this left dashboard, you can see that we have an entire section devoted to automation. We could do this on a regular basis. So let's say for your fantasy team, you're wanting to keep an eye on, let's say Kettle, see how many yards he gets on an average play. You could build this in, you could build a feed directly from ESPN, you could grab some API connections, and you could do this in an automated fashion where it's always being kept up to date. And then you can provide kind of an executive summary email that goes out, let's say every Monday after games are complete, and updates you on the performance of that player. Obviously, there's more relevant things for businesses, but you can kind of do that reoccurring automated data observability within this platform. So that's everything that I wanted to go through. I want to leave some time for Q&A. So I will go ahead and pass back the screen, and we will jump into Q&A.
Well, Nick, thank you so much. We're gonna pop back here on camera now that we're all back together. Awesome. And so just to kick us off, if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat. We hope that you've been loving the presentation so far. Nick, great demo on the report card and Aperture. I love the Shaq example. So we already have a few questions coming in. The first one was around if the report was available, the full set of research and statistics are available, and the answer is yes. You can find them on our website, edq.com, and you'll be able to find the report on there. So really interesting stuff, and take a look and let us know what you think. Also, second comment / question that came through is the user saying that we struggle with global AV, global legal name verification and deduplication. Do you have recommendations on tooling? So Emily, I'm going to pass that to you first, and then if anyone else wants to chime in, you're welcome to do so.
Great, yes, great question. Yes, so we at Experian offer solutions that can help with some of these needs. So address verification, we can cover 245 countries for address verification. So pretty much the full remit, and we partner where available with the postal authorities for that country, so that it's the most refreshed and up-to-date data possible. So that's on the address piece. And then on deduplication, again, so that the Aperture tool that Nick just demoed, that does offer deduplication services. So it looks at things like fuzzy and phonetic matching in order to identify potential duplicates. You know, you as a business can set thresholds on how lenient that matching technology is. So it can be according to your use case there. So definitely there are tools out there to help you with these needs. Feel free to reach out to myself, you know, if you want to connect further after the webinar. And then Nick, Ray, I don't know if you have anything to add there. Great.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. Okay, second or third, I guess, question. I'm not going to number all of these questions, but next question we have coming up. The user says that I'm curious how data governance plays a role here. So I'm assuming here means in the market, in the solutions, in the organization. Right, I think this is a good one for you to kick off with.
Okay. So data governance is part of the spectrum of data quality solutions required to deliver effective data management, essentially. It's important to know what data exists in your systems and where, who has access and who's responsible for it, and who made what changes when, the data lineage capability. So data governance is a fundamental part of maintaining control of data And it really dovetails nicely with observability, which is broadly the ability to monitor data quality as data is used by the various parts of an organization.
Anything to add, Emily, Nick? Data governance.
From the technology side, I'll call out that we do have integrations to the different platforms. So we've been working with Collibra and Alation, and exactly as Ray said, it's a spectrum, and we kind of prioritize different capabilities within there. So within Alation provides a flagging capability, and they have kind of custom elements that you can have on different attributes. So we leverage their API, and we can inject some of this data quality directly into the Alation platform. So you will still have your data stewards within the data governance platform, but then you can bring in the profiling information, or you can bring in a specific validation rule that will be the results will show up directly in the data governance platform. So you can build those customized different areas that will empower your data governance tool even further.
Let's see here. Can Aperture do data observability? So Nick, I'll keep you on the stand. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to call out kind of a specific area. Aperture Data Studio is really, really powerful around either the high-level summaries or really digging deep into the data. So if you're wanting to make a customized rule, if you're wanting to make those profiles, and we showed a brief version of the profile with like my favorite 8 to 10 elements. I believe there's 70 different elements that come pre-packaged, and you can build your own on top of that. So these are the areas where Aperture Data Studio will really, really help. That being said, the dashboarding, the pure visualization is not as powerful as some other solutions on the market. So something like Power BI that we have an integration to. So if you're looking to do drop downs, if you're looking to do more interactive displays where you're wanting to filter on the fly, then we can integrate directly to those. We can even kind of level up that data observability where the data quality platform will do your validation, it'll do your appends, it'll do some API requests, it'll do that really deep dive. And then in Power BI, you can do some fun filtering, you can do the really good UI that a dashboarding tool like that will have.
Awesome. And Ray, I know you're our data observability guy. Can you speak to why this is so important nowadays?
Well, our research shows that the data systems are just getting more complex and that businesses are getting more sophisticated in their use of data for operational and strategic purposes. The world is, digitizing, has digitized, but is continuing to digitize rapidly. The number of different data sets and databases that companies are using is continuing to grow. I think we found the average company now uses about 20 databases. This is just in our data set, which is up from what we've seen in the past. And from other data, I've seen that people are using hundreds of different data sets. If you take into account the use of Excel and other things, literally hundreds of different data sets could be in play. So to undertake analyses and create insights, the visualizations that Nick's talking about, whether you're using the popular visualization tools or BI, and reports increasingly requires data to be aggregated from these disparate sources. Those sources can be in different business units, different locations, have different schema, different labeling criteria, etc. So there's a need to make sure that the data used for each particular use case is fit for that purpose, and that no issues, errors, incorrect formats, deletions, and so on have been injected into the data pipelines as data is aggregated and before it reaches its destination point. And just to jump back to the demo that Nick did, think about it. If you've got a production database and you're using it for live customer interactions, for example, and you've got test in there, it's not going to, it's not it's not going to show up very well for you. So I think that knowing what's going on with your data is important and becoming even more so as time goes on.
Great answer, great insight, guys. Switching gears here, so looking to learn a little bit more about that data quality report card. What's the cost? How can this user do that? So Emily, we'll start with you. Nick, Ray, if you guys have things to add, feel free to do so.
For sure, I love talking about the data quality report card. It's my favorite thing. So it really depends on your use case. So the goal of the report card, right, is to give you a high-level summary view of what your data looks like, so that you can immediately see what insights you can glean from it to say, hey, we need to focus in this area as opposed to this area, and perhaps uncover a data quality issue you may not have known in the past. So for example, I think we ran one recently for a client, and they discovered about like 260,000 invalid email or addresses. And so they're using that for direct mail. Think about the cost that they're facing. I think, it averages like $3 a piece or something like that. That's upwards of almost $1 million in costs that can be avoided. So I think it's a very easy service to deploy. So I think if you're interested, definitely reach out. We want to make this consumable and easy for your business to take and either action on those insights, build a business case if you're struggling to get investment from executive or leadership teams on how can we enact a data quality program. This is intended to be a quick and easy way to get started. So happy to talk through any potential use cases there. Nick, anything to add?
No, just expanding on it, that for that initial test, where we're doing that initial test, we're only doing, let's say, 10,000 records of email, we're only doing 1,000 records of phone, and we're not providing results. We're not showing you exactly which ones are good, which ones are bad. We don't charge for that one. That is to show where to spend energy in your data quality adventure. Like, where should you be focusing on address? Should you be focused on email? Should you be focusing on duplication? So that one we don't charge for, but once we get into the results of it. So if you want to know exactly which addresses are good or bad, you want us to assist in reformatting those addresses to make them more deliverable, or even if you're wanting to keep that exact same report, the same samples, but you're wanting on a daily basis. If you're wanting a delta that goes to, let's say, your VP of marketing or your chief of data, then you want them to have that on an everyday basis so that you can immediately fix problems before they spread. Then that's kind of when we get into cost, when we get into that, and that'll depend on exactly what the solution is, volume is, that kind of thing.
Thanks for covering that, Nick. I got so excited talking about it, I forgot.
No worries.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. All right. I think we have time for one more, and I really want to get to this one because AI is such a hot topic right now. Everyone's talking about it. So, Nick, let's start with you. Does Aperture use AI?
It has AI. It does not have a large language model right now. So it doesn't have like ChatGPT functionality. It doesn't have a co-pilot built in. What it does have is some machine learning in there. So when you load a data set, it's going to analyze the first X number of records, and it's going to identify if it's a name, if it's an address, if it's a social security number. It's going to kind of auto tag your different fields. It's going to tell you if they're sensitive, and that's going to spread through the entire system. It's going to say, this is now a data set that contains PII. Are you sure you want to share it to the entire collaboration group within Aperture Data Studio? It'll then take those exact same tags and it'll say, all right, this is an address field. What are some of, and it's, we use explainable machine learning. We always want to know exactly why it did it instead of kind of a black box where it made a recommendation and hopefully Hal knew what they were doing. So instead we're going to be able to explain that it knew it was an address, and it knows addresses shouldn't look like this, so it made a recommendation of this transform or this validation rule that you're going to continue going on a regular basis. The one thing I will call out is we do have kind of a script that you can copy and paste into ChatGPT. It will teach ChatGPT how to write the scripting language within our platform, and then you can have the kind of the standard conversation that you're used to with ChatGPT, any chatbot, and it will write your transforms for you. So kind of a co-pilot, it'll allow you to develop quicker, but right now that is a separate kind of solution. It's not embedded in our platform.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. I know we're at time. Last thing I would add to that is that if you ask ChatGPT if data quality is not necessary, it will say, yes, in fact, you need data quality. So just to end on that note. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Go and download the research. Reach out to us for any last questions. We'd love to set up time with you to chat more on your use case. And with that, we hope you have an awesome Wednesday.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.